Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
The Rockin' Review is so honored to bring you an incredible country music singer, songwriter, entertainer, and also author, Sammy Sadler. Sammy, thanks for coming on the show.
Eric, thank you for having me, man. I'm humbled to be here with you this morning.
You know, I told you, before we started the interview, I feel like I know you already from having a copy of your book at the TV station that I think one of the news people took from me back when they did that interview with you. But also on your new album, 1989, going through the list, every guest that you have on your album has been on one of my shows.
That's awesome. Man, I tell you, iconic voices in country music for sure.
Yeah, and it is such a testament to you as well. And for those viewers that don't know your incredible history, I love it how you kind of completed the circle, Sammy, with this new album. And I enjoy all of the tracks. I think one of my favorites is Tell It Like It Is, which I think you deliver so great vocally on that.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric. When we were getting ready to record this album, I didn't know we were going to title it 1989, but it ended up being titled 1989. And the year, obviously, that I was shot and left for dead there in Nashville on Music Row. But I had Tell It Like It Is out on the charts in 1989 whenever all that happened to me. Mm-hmm. So I said, guys, let's bring that record back and let's re-record it. It was my last record that was on the charts, and it was my fastest rising single at the time. So we brought it and re-recorded it, and I think we've got a really good cut on the record, and I'm pleased with it.
I was pleased with it as well. I'll tell you what, it's going to be in my playlist going forward. Also, I got to tell you, congratulations, doing a song with Marty Raybon, from Shenandoah, and that was released on Country Rebel also, right?
It was, and they had called me after the release of it, and I think it was like 23 hours into it, we already had 100,000 views, and man, we were just blown away by it, man. It was so exciting, to know that everybody was going and listening to that record.
Well, and yours and Marty's voices sound so good together, and you've made so many incredible friends here within the Nashville community of music. And great to see also that you included Larry Stewart from Restless Heart and the one and only T. Graham Brown.
His Teenus, man, I tell you, he's like a fine wine, man. He just gets better and better and better. And like I said earlier, what a humbling experience and an honor to have these guys on the album with me. They're true country music trailblazers and iconic voices in country music. And I'm just blessed that they would come and be a part of my album with me.
Well, and I had to dig a little deeper into your album after I was listening to it, Sammy. And you brought in some heavy hitters to play on it also, including Brent Mason.
Yeah, Brent's playing lead guitar. We had a lot of the cream of the crop, as I would call, but Brent Mason, James Mitchell, Danny Parks, Mike Johnson, Garth Justice,
Buddy
Hite, Joel Key. We had, I believe, some of the best of the best.
Well, and I think that really makes this whole album so cohesive. And as we were talking to, when the murder happened back in 1989, and thankfully you survived it, but it also took you years, of surgery to come back around. And also, I think, to hit your stride musically. You've had several albums that have come out in the 2000s, but to me, this one, Sammy, really, it feels like you've completed the circle and you sound at your best musically on this album.
Man, I really appreciate that, Eric. The music business for me has been a roller coaster ride, as you well know. I've had 3 record deals since the shooting, and every time we've gotten the deal, got the album done, maybe get a single out, the record label has folded, and kind of left my music unheard. So I'm really excited about this album, and I think it's music from an era that I just think is some of the best music that was ever made and to be able to re-record some of these songs and personal favorites of mine, by the way, and have some of the original artists on it. I hope that I've done it justice, and I hope I've made those guys proud and didn't disappoint anybody, and I hope everybody will enjoy the record.
Well, I think they will, but also they've enjoyed your book that came out in 2019, Murder on Music Row, which I think, you know, it needs to be a movie or a documentary. I mean, something.
My book is called A Hit with a Bullet, The Real Murder on Music Row, and you can get it off my website. I've got it where a lot of people were buying it, but they wanted it autographed. So I've got it now to where you can go to my website at sammysadler.com and I'll autograph a copy for you if you order it from my website. That way, you know, you're going to get my true signature, and I'm going to personally sign it to you. So, you know, the night I was shot and left for dead on Music Row, Eric, obviously I didn't know how bad I was hurt. I didn't know, you know, how bad the injury was. Didn't know if I was going to live or die, but the bullet had severed the main artery in my arm, and they had to rush me to Vanderbilt. And that night I underwent 18 hours of surgery under the microscope and to repair the artery in my arm. And if that hadn't have took, then that obviously had to cut my arm off. They knew that I was going to have a second operation months down the road. And we didn't know how long that was going to be, but it ended up being about 6 months down the road. That night that Kevin was murdered and I was shot, that all happened in 7 seconds. And it changed not only mine and Kevin's life, it changed a lot of people around us, their life as well, and our families. And so at the time, Al Gore was the senator here in Tennessee, and Al's son had gotten run over at an Orioles baseball game and had some kind of nerve damage done to his hand or arm or something. And I had a friend of mine at the time that I lived next door to out in Donaldson. And she said, man, you need to call Al Gore. You need to call Al Gore. His son had some kind of nerve damage, and you've got nerve damage, and you need to call Al and see who operated on his son. And her name was Mitzi. And I said, Mitzi, I said, I'm not going to call Al Gore. And so she just kept on, and she worked down at Metro. So a few weeks, she just kept on, Eric. And one day she walked in and she had Al Gore's phone number in her hand.
Oh my gosh.
And I just took it basically to quieten her down. And she's standing in my living room, and I just took it and I picked up the phone and I dialed the number, and I guess Al's secretary or, you know, his assistant answered the telephone, and I started telling her who I was, and she goes, well, hold on just a minute. And Al come on the phone.
Wow.
And I started telling him about what had happened to me. And he said, Sammy, you don't have to tell me what happened to you. He says, I know what happened to you. He said, hang on 15 minutes and I'll call you back. And in 15 minutes, he called me back, Eric, and he had called the surgeon that operated on his son down in New Orleans, Dr. David Klein. And he was a top neurosurgeon at the time at that era. And they didn't take out-of-state patients. And he made the phone call and talked to Mr. Klein, and he called me back and said, the surgery's set up. All you got to do is fly down there.
How amazing.
So
what an incredible story.
Ever be indebtful for him doing that for me and making that happen for me.
Well, you know, it seems to me, Sammy, and you and I have stayed in touch with each other, and I've followed your career over the years, but it seems to me with the book coming out in 2019, and obviously with the release of this new album, 1989, that is doing so well already, it seems like this is really allowing you to move forward with everything now, to really, you know, get out and create great music again and really putting your life together once again, just as you started out doing with 2 singles on the charts back in 1989.
Well, you know, I sure hope so. The good Lord knows what all I've been through, and he knows what I've persevered through. I mean, it's only because of him that I'm here and I'm still being able to do what I do. And he's the one that gives me life, and he's the one that gave me life and saved my life that night. And, you know, I had an out-of-body experience that night, Eric, whenever I was shot. I didn't know, but they took me to Vanderbilt. And I don't know how long I laid over there before they ever got me to the operating room, but I actually come up out of my body and watched them operate on me that night. And then I looked and I just floated to the widest, most peaceful place I've ever been in my life. It was the most brightest, widest place I've ever been.
Well, we're thankful you came back to do the book and to create more music. I want to make sure also, Sammy, you know, you've done some great tours in the past, including with Doug Stone. What are your plans as things are starting to open up in Texas and Nashville and everywhere? What are your plans for the tour now?
Well, you know, I hope things are slowly. I don't know if this year, I don't know what this year is going to look like. You know, we're already middle ways through this. So, but I've got my Taking the Country Back tour that is featuring myself, Ken Mellons, and we brought on Davis Daniel, who's going to join us on the Taking the Country Back tour. So we're looking forward to bringing that show out. I believe the kind of music that's on my 1989 album and that 80s and 90s country music, I believe there's a void out there for it. I believe people that are really hungry for it, I think they miss it. And we're just excited to put it back together, try to get it back out on the road and bring the show to a town and see the people and say hello to them and give them a good country music show.
Well, you know, it might be time for another award like you got back in 1993 with the Male Vocalist Award, you know, maybe another award and maybe, you know, getting you back on the Opry stage also.
You know, I've never played the Opry. I had a lot of friends out there. You know, it's been a long time since I've been out there. I would, you know, obviously it's every country music singer's entertainer to stand on that Opry stage. And it would be an honor for me to be able to go out there and play the Opry. And, you know, if I won an award, that would be great. You know, I'm just blessed, Eric, to still be alive and still be here. All I want to do is sing a song and tell my story of what I lived through. Again, what I meant to say earlier is that I love Nashville. I'm not here by any means to think Nashville, that I hate Nashville or I have any ill feelings with Nashville, because I don't. I love it. I'm just trying to tell my story through my eyes of what I lived through.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a great album. I think we're going to see a lot more singles and videos from this 1989. Sammy Sadler, I want to know where our viewers need to go for your website, for social media, hopefully Taking Back the Country tour, also everything you've got going. Where should they go?
Go to my website at sammysadler.com. You can order the downloads there on the singles, and the album will be there. My book is there. I'll personally autograph it for you. You can go to my YouTube, my Twitter, my Facebook. My Facebook is the original Facebook page with a blue check. So be sure you go to the blue check, my official Facebook, and follow me there.
You know, and I think it wouldn't be bad, Sammy, you know, if you end up having like Marty, Larry, or T. Graham, you know, joining you on some of these songs, maybe when you come to Nashville next time.
I hope that we'll be able to do that, or maybe even run across each other on the road, share the stage with it on one of them somewhere. But that would be an awesome thing to be able to do. Like I said, all these guys are iconic voices, and they're singing better than ever. And it's a pleasure just to be able to call them my friend.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sammy Sadler, thank you for joining the Rockin' Review. Congratulations on your brand new album, 1989, and we can't wait to see you live in concert.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's a pleasure to meet you and finally get to see you and talk to you. And thank you so much for talking about my music and my book. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.